In the history of the NFL, there are only a handful of defenses whose reputation strikes such fear in their opponents. They inspire a signature name. The Steel Curtain.
They've got him. Oh, did they get him?
The Purple People Eaters. The Fearsome Foursome. The Doomsday Defense. The New York Sack Exchange. And the Legion of Boom. This is the story of one of those legendary defenses. The coaches, the players, the mindset,
good job,
and the legacy that lives on today.
Welcome to Blitzburgh.
This is a Steelers story. Birth of Blitzburgh. Perhaps more than any other franchise, nicknames have played a significant role in Steelers history and helped solidify the team's bond with the people of Pittsburgh.
I think it indicates the kind of fun that our fans have with nicknames and just kind of celebrating the team's success and wanting to be part of it.
The origin of Blitzburgh is the same as nearly all great Steeler nicknames. It came directly from the fans. I'm Bill Hillgrove, and this story begins in 1994, my first year calling play-by-play for the Steelers.
And the towel is surging at Three Rivers Stadium. Feel the power, Myron. Oh, I can feel that power.
I used to listen to Myron Cope's talk show all the time. The Immaculate Reception story was somebody called into his radio station and suggested that Franco Harris play should be called the Immaculate Reception. And Cope ran with that. 22 years later, in 1994, Pittsburgh's got a great defense, and Myron was calling for names. And some people called in with various names. The one name Myron liked, and I can't even remember the name that it was. Somebody else called in Blitzburgh, and by the end of the night, Myron had picked this other name that they should go by. I liked Blitzburgh. I thought it was a natural. It played on the city. It played on what they were doing on defense, the zone blitz. So I threw it in a story, and it just like it was taking a match to gasoline. It caught fire.
That December in 1994, Ed Bouchette wrote an article in the Post-Gazette with the headline, "All Roads Lead to Blitzburgh." Myron soon got on board.
Good afternoon, everyone, here in Blitzburgh.
Not long after that, so did the national media.
Welcome to Blitzburgh. Blitz as in 55 of them to lead the NFL and to set a Pittsburgh franchise record. It's a very unique defensive system. Give us some insight.
Yeah, there's no question it's Blitzburgh.
The unique defensive system was the zone blitz.
Right here, y'all set?
And the architect was defensive innovator Dick LeBeau.
It's a zone area where you would blitz a guy that normally doesn't blitz, make the quarterback figure out what's going on. And if you could have enough variety of that, there aren't enough hours in the day that the quarterback could figure all of them out.
According to Coach LeBeau, the origins of Blitzburgh trace back to when he was a defensive back for the Lions in the 1960s. It was an exchange he had with fellow Hall of Famer and teammate Dick Night Train Lane.
We're getting in a huddle, and Night Train says, "Dick, cover my guy on this play. I'm going to blitz." I said, "Night Train, what are you talking about?" I said, "You can't blitz, man. Blitz has got to be coordinated, and everybody's got to know what everybody's doing, and you got to do your part. Don't matter." He said, "The quarterback's not looked at me all day." He said, "He ain't even going to look over here." He said, "I'll sack him before anything can happen." I said, "Night Train, you crazy, man." So what do you think happened? They snapped the ball, 7-yard loss, Night Train Lane on a sack.
And so the zone blitz was born, and the seeds of Blitzburgh were planted. After 14 years as a player, LeBeau retired with 62 career interceptions, and the very next season, he began his remarkable 45-year NFL coaching career.
I just thought, well, that's not a bad way to spend your life, teaching young people not only the game of football, but trying to get some life values in there too.
As the Bengals defensive coordinator in the late 1980s, LeBeau experimented with a zone blitz concept to combat the West Coast and run-and-shoot offenses that were dominating the NFL. His defensive schemes helped Cincinnati reach the Super Bowl, where they finished one play short of a championship. When the Bengals head coach Sam Wyche was fired 3 years later after the 1991 season, Dick LeBeau was out of work.
Yeah, every coach's fear is the fear of getting released, and then you got to go get a job.
It's my pleasure to introduce Coach Bill Cowher.
Less than a month later, in January of 1992, the Steelers hired the Chiefs defensive coordinator, 34-year-old Bill Cowher, to become the youngest head coach in the league, replacing an NFL legend.
The task at hand is clear and simple. What we must do is take the credibility and the stability of the front office, the wealth of young and proven players, and we're going to unite that.
You know, Coach Noel kind of hit us with a lot of literature, life lessons, and then Bill comes in, and Bill is like this brimstone and fire and like,
Yeah! That's what I'm talking about right now! Someone's got to throw the first punch. And I'll tell you what, let's not wait around, let's deliver. You got to rush the quarterback relentlessly. Yeah! Yeah! Let's have some fun playing football our style. We control the tempo of this football game today. Now let's go. Hey!
Cowher immediately put together a dream team of coaches on the defensive staff. He hired away Dom Capers from the Saints to be his defensive coordinator. He brought in a young Marvin Lewis from Pitt to coach the linebackers and made Dick LeBeau his secondary coach. All three would go on to become NFL head coaches.
The whole crew were really outstanding coaches. You know, designed a defense that was really hard to play against and wreaked havoc on all the quarterbacks we played.
Let's rush! Rush! That's a big play, big man. That's a big play.
It really was kind of a collaboration between myself and Dom Capers and Dick LeBeau, and Marvin Lewis was a young linebacker coach at the time, and it was really a great mix of people, and I think it was a lot of creative thinking.
Each coach brought his own ideas and nuances to the plan. The final product was a base 3-4 defense which combined blitzing with zone pass coverage, often called the fire zone. Linebackers or defensive backs would rush the passer, while others, even defensive linemen, would drop into short coverage zones to compensate.
I still remember watching, I didn't know what it was, but I saw it one day, and I saw Joel Steed, their big nose tackle, drop back into pass coverage, and I went, wow, I've never seen that before.
We wanted to do different ways to try to break down protections and try to get pressure on the quarterback while at the same time not be locked into man-to-man. So fire zone is basically a zone defense, but still bringing 5 people.
That was like the really smart, ingenious thing to do as a coach, to still get pressure on quarterbacks, because we're showing a different look. We're going to bring 5. You just don't know what 5 we're bringing.
He is hit, he fumbles the football. It's loose, it's scooped up, it's loose again. And down the field they go, and running with the football.
The essential element was having the right personnel, versatile athletes, including linebackers who could contain the run, rush the passer, or drop into coverage.
Anybody who ever played in this defense, in a 3-4 defense, knows that it does not work unless you got 4 horsemen. You know, not 2, not 3, but 4.
When you talk about Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd, Levon Kirkland, and Chad Brown, those are your 4 starters. I don't know anybody who had better linebackers.
Let's go out there and kick some butt, baby. Here we go, D on 3. 1, 2, 3. He's right. You can't run that defense unless you got 4 linebackers who can get it done. Me and Chad, we wouldn't have been in there if we couldn't hold up our end of the bargain. You had a guy like me that was 270 pounds running down the seam with tight ends and running backs. And you had a guy like Chad Brown who was an amazing pass rusher, but also a guy who could be in the box that was tough enough to stop the run.
I walk into a linebacker room with Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd. It was a little daunting at first, but quickly realized this is the perfect place for me, and it feels like a football home.
The prime ingredients was 2 great outside rushers, Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green, and I call them bookends.
We are playing good right now on defense. I want to make sure you understand that.
You have to talk about the 2 bookends. You know, you had one guy with Kevin Green who had the flowing locks and would just throw back his hair. And
he's a professional wrestler playing football. He had a switch that he turned on. So he was this character on the field in front of the cameras.
You know, he was just flamboyant like that. Just funny, just a funny, outgoing guy, man. We had fun.
Let's get his ass. But he could rush the passer better than anybody I know. I mean, he just had to take me down.
The other guy who had the T-star underneath it said I wasn't hired for my disposition, and Greg Lloyd.
Very similar, you know, in what we wanted to do on the field, but outside of that, you know, probably opposites. I mean, he's a very like to be seen, want to be seen, and I'm like, I show up on Sunday.
Don't run that shit over here. That's what I'm talking about.
Greg had a lot of heart.
Hey, listen, these can't beat us, and we ain't gonna beat ourselves. That's the name of the game.
You think about the Michael Jordans, you think about the Kobe Bryants. Greg was the same way in football. You had to play this level because if you didn't, he didn't want you out there.
We gotta get the ball. We gotta get the ball out of there. Let's keep talking.
Probably one of the hardest hitting linebackers that I ever seen or ever had the privilege to play with. That guy just set the tone for us.
Turn the game up. Let's go out there and let's do what we've been doing all day.
They were uniquely different.
Come on, man! Come on! Let's crank it!
And they kind of made up our defense, to be honest with you, with a Rod Woodson, Carnell Lake, Darren Perry, keeping everybody together in the back end. We were able to do a lot of things because they were smart football players. They were tough football players as well.
We all grew together over the years. We became really close outside of football with our families.
Many of those personal relationships were built at the Clark Bar and Grill across from the stadium, where Greg Lloyd insisted the entire team get together at the end of each week.
No coaches allowed, just players. We played cards, we played pool, we sat back and ate, and we talked about everything but football.
What started happening is you got linebackers talking to offensive linemen, quarterbacks talking to DBs, and then also you had different races talking to different races.
And when we started doing that as a team, when we started hanging as a team, we found out we had so much freaking in common, and then we gelled.
He's trapped. He's going to be hit. Safety. Carnell Lake has him. And down goes Benny for a two-pointer. And the Steelers advance to the AFC Championship game.
When you're close with your friends and you get to do something for a living like we do, playing in the National Football League, it's so much easier to play for your friends and give it up for your friends.
Let me tell you something. When going up tough, I'm going to send your pass, man. That's a big-time play. That's why I wanted you to do it, man.
The Blitzburgh defense led the NFL in 1994 with 55 sacks.
Rush the quarterback. You understand? Yeah. Rush the quarterback.
And added 17 interceptions while holding their opponents to 10 points or less in half of their games.
Wilson fires under pressure. It is tipped into the air and pulled in. Rod Woodson with the ball going down the
pressure, bust a pipe, getting after quarterbacks, giving them different looks, shirking one way, coming back the other.
So it was constant pressure. You know, we're coming on first down, we're coming on second down, and then we're going to make it where on third down, you better do something real quick.
We were like, oh man, you know, here we go. We had people coming from everywhere. And you just got to make sure that you clear, because you know somebody's coming in behind you. It became fun.
Call off the dogs. They can't block it. What we're doing, we just keep blitzing them. Told Dick, call them off.
To be able to maximize the talents of the players on the field and marry that into an overall system that literally took the NFL by storm. It was an incredible thing to be a part of.
This Steeler defense is brutal.
That season, the Steelers finished 12-4 and were heavily favored over the San Diego Chargers in the AFC Championship game.
I didn't think they should be on the field with us, personally. I didn't think so.
The Steelers led the entire game until a play late in the fourth quarter on 3rd and 14.
Humphreys goes long. Has a man, Martin. Touchdown! Oh, my!
We had a inside fire zone call. We had an inside fire zone call, and we hit Humphrey. Humphrey had no clue. He had no clue who caught that ball. And you're listening for the crowd. You're listening for that roar, and it didn't happen. And I'm going, that's not good.
For me in my house, that was probably the toughest game ever. That game was devastating.
The Steelers should have won that game and should have gone to the Super Bowl and maybe would have won the Super Bowl that year. They had a great team.
The next year in '95, Dom Capers left for Carolina and Dick LeBeau was named defensive coordinator. When Coach LeBeau spoke to his players at the start of the season, he made one thing crystal clear.
The very first defensive meeting, he gets up and he says, fellas, you know all that zone blitz bull y'all been running last couple of years, been highly successful? He goes, that's mine. And we're gonna do a lot more of it this year. We're coming with it.
He may not have said it that way, Kevin. Those are Kevin words, because I know Coach LeBeau is not, I've never heard him curse, you know. But I can pretty much assure you that that was the mentality, absolutely.
Coach LeBeau laid it out saying, hey, this is my baby. Now we're going to really run it the way it's supposed to be run.
It worked, and it actually kind of took over the defense, to be totally honest with you.
That year, the Steelers again hosted the AFC Championship game. And this time, their pass rush was the difference, bullying Colts quarterback Jim Harbaugh.
Every play has to be just like that. Every one of them. We cannot take this team lightly. You got play pass, stay on your man. That's how it's got to be.
And he turns and he gives it to Lamont Warren, and he's tripped up, and he doesn't make it. Here we go for the right to go to the Super Bowl. Harbaugh, 5 seconds left is back. He has time, and he launches a rainbow, and it goes up, and it's starting to come down in the end zone. And down there, it is juggled, and in the end zone, oh my! Drop! The ball hit the turf. The Steelers are headed to Phoenix, and this is one of the most unbelievable football games we have ever witnessed.
For you, Dad. For you. This trophy, while it's only half of what we want to accomplish, is for Dan Rooney, and more importantly, the fans of Pittsburgh, baby. This is for you.
Led by the Blitzburgh defense, Pittsburgh reached the Super Bowl for the first time in 16 years. And although the defense held its own the entire game, the Steelers came up just short against the Dallas Cowboys.
I think Dallas got like 241 or 2 total yards on offense at that time, and for years after that, that was the lowest amount of yards that a winning team had ever compiled in the Super Bowl.
They had Dallas on the ropes that year in the Super Bowl till a couple of interceptions.
He gets the snap. Here comes an outside blitz. The pass is picked off. An open field. Here comes Larry Brown to the 15. He's to the 10, and he's knocked out of bounds on the far side at the Steelers' 6-yard line.
94-95 was the true 2 years of the Blitzburgh defense, where that defense came together and came close to winning it all. But there was one thing preventing it from becoming a well-known great defense. It wasn't the nickname, that was pretty good. They never won a Super Bowl.
Good enough defensively to win multiple Super Bowls. Just collectively as a team, we just couldn't put it all together.
You know, Rod Woodson's in the Hall of Fame. Kevin Green's in the Hall of Fame. A lot of people think Greg Lloyd should be in the Hall of Fame. Chad Brown would have been in the Hall of Fame, I think, if he'd have stayed in Pittsburgh.
The next few years saw a lot of changes with the Blitzburgh defense. In 1996, Marvin Lewis left for the Ravens, Kevin Green for the Panthers, and Greg Lloyd suffered a season-ending knee injury. In 1997, Rod Woodson and Chad Brown signed with other teams, and Dick LeBeau rejoined the Bengals. Still, the Steelers made the playoffs both years, but more importantly, the Blitzburgh mold had been set and would shape Pittsburgh's defensive philosophy for years to come.
Steelers show blitz. Here they come. They hit him. Oh, fumble.
I think we were in the forefront. A lot of people studied it. They wanted to know how we taught it. There's a lot of idiosyncrasies with that defense that you had to kind of know, and we worked through.
I think everybody runs them now. You'll see guys standing up all over the field, and then they'll have 7 defensive backs, or they'll have 6 defensive linemen. That all kind of evolved away from the success that our guys had doing that.
The only thing is that Dick LeBeau wrote the Bible. And a lot of times people try to change the Bible. Just follow the Bible, and you'll be fine.
Rush sack at the 2-yard line.
That Blitzburgh tradition that began in 1994 set the tone for future generations of Steelers defenses.
Let's control the game right now. Let's go.
Dick LeBeau returned to Pittsburgh as defensive coordinator in 2004 and would win 2 Super Bowls over the next 5 seasons with dominant defenses.
Finish this game. They don't get nothing, we win.
The same ingredients that we had in Super Bowl '08.
Style points don't matter. We win the game. This is a legendary defense.
Do the Steelers have a fumble recovery? It's over, folks.
A bunch of guys that could really run pressure defenses.
Let's go get them. You know what I mean? That was our mentality. Let's go, line up. We ain't going to wait for you.
We coming after them. We going to come after them and come after them and come after them.
And that system allows really good athletes to play in space and just to go have fun and get after opposing quarterbacks and receivers and running backs.
It was glorious. It was a lot of fun. It really was.
No matter what you're running, everybody play their gap. Let's take care of responsibility.
It wasn't rocket science whatsoever. It was just a bunch of guys flying around having freaking fun, man. That's what it was.
Yeah, baby. That's Steeler defense. That's Steeler defense.